Hello, welcome to our PowerPoint module for the week of November 2nd, almost at October. It is now November. And this is the second part of our global inequality section. We're going to focus more specifically on global gender inequality this week, which of course does intersect with economic inequality as well. This is also your second to last PowerPoint module for the semester, so you are almost done. We're going to talk about global inequality this week, then we're going to have 1 week on some solutions, which really isn't much time to talk about solutions, right? And then that's it for material for this semester. Our objectives for this week are 1, to introduce global gender inequality, and we're going to consider the example of transnational surrogacy, and this is a very large industry. We're going to consider this as an example, discuss it in relation to global gender inequality. I expect that this module will take about an hour. You do have 2 videos, but the actual lecture piece is pretty brief. Here's what you need to turn in on Inquire this week. As usual, you have your reading question due Monday night. You have your PowerPoint module due Tuesday night with an opening question and 2 video questions this week. And then you do have your Film Analysis 3 due this Friday by 11:59 p.m. Okay, so this is their third and final film analysis. I included a prompt. Well, you're using the same prompt that you've used for the previous 2 film analyses, but I gave you some examples of films to consider and the overall topic for the last film analysis in last week's PowerPoint module. So if you need to revisit that, please do. Here's your opening question for this week. And this is more of an opinion question. I'm asking you to consider where you stand with transnational surrogacy as an industry. All right, so here's your question. Do you think that transnational surrogacy, that is, the use of a surrogacy agency from another country, typically a lower income country, to have a child, should remain legal in the US? Because it is not legal everywhere. All right, and we're going to go into that later on in this PowerPoint module. So I want you to consider your own stance on this and then explain why or why not you think it should be legal. All right, so again, there's no one right answer to this question. It is a complicated topic, but I just want you to consider how you feel about this issue. We're going to return to the issue of transnational surrogacy later on in this module and in class as well. So before we get to that though, I want to start by discussing the Global Gender Gap Report. This was one of your 2 readings for this week, and I gave you the 2018 report to read. Recall that there are multiple measures used in order to actually capture the gender gap across countries. So each country is given a score based on several criteria. And these criteria are economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. And all this relates to women, right? So the political empowerment of women, the health and survival of women relative to men. This is something that's published, I believe it's published annually, so I did give you one that's a couple years old, but they have been tracking how countries are doing in terms of gender inequality and what it would take to really achieve gender equity at a global level and also within countries. Your first video for this module is relating to that Global Gender Gap Report from the World Economic Forum. And this video is actually in relation or in response to the 2017 report. So you read the one that's a year later. The rankings are a little bit different from year to year. So you're going to see some slightly different rankings if you remember what they were for 2018. But overall, same story. And we do see some consistency in which countries are ranked where, okay? So I want you to watch this video. It's titled 100 Years Until We Reach Gender Parity. So this is a commentary on just how long it might take to reach gender equity. The link is on Inquire, so you'll watch that. And then I want you to answer this video question. Where did the US rank in the 2017 Global Gender Gap Report? What reasons were given for this in the video? And what do you think would need to change in the US in order to reach gender equity or parity? So this is more of a personal reflection question for the last part, but based on information that's presented in the video for the first two questions here. All right, so you can pause, watch that video clip, and then answer this video question on Inquire under video question 1. All right, so let's switch gears to talk about transnational surrogacy. You did have one reading on this for this week, and we can use this as a specific example to really demonstrate global gender inequality and to better capture the complexity of gender inequality on a global scale. Now, this is just a really brief introduction for you, looking at policy or surrogacy laws by country. This figure, or the map on the right side of the slide, is a color-coded map of the types of laws that do exist or do not exist across various countries around the globe. So we see green, for example, and the US is green. These countries allow compensated and uncompensated surrogacy, meaning that the surrogate can or maybe is not compensated. Either one is okay. I will say in the US, one main caveat here is that states actually vary in laws regarding surrogacy and transnational surrogacy. So part of this is within the federal jurisdiction, and federally there is no restriction, but across states there are some. Now the orange is the next one on here. This is for countries that only allow uncompensated surrogacy, and this is to remove the potential exploitation of essentially paying for a surrogate. If it's not compensated, then it's not really an industry in the same way, right? Then there are some countries that are red. These are countries that prohibit surrogacy altogether, no matter what kind of surrogacy it is. So you'll actually notice here that a number of the countries that prohibit surrogacy are the ones who are typically exploited, right? And lower income countries, not exclusively here, but a number of lower income countries that had previously been the most active in surrogacy, and transnational surrogacy specifically, no longer allow it. But there are a number of countries that still do. All right, and then there are some that have no laws and some where we don't have the information available. But I did want to give you an overview of the policies that exist or the extent of policy across countries. There is a lot of cross-national variation here in how the surrogacy industry is regulated. And this is important as we consider what we should be doing in the US. So relating to that topic of transnational surrogacy, here's your second video question and your final question for this module. I want you to watch a clip titled Outsourcing Surrogacy. This is going to give you an example. You're going to see a couple in the US who is using a surrogate in another country, I believe in India. And here you're going to watch, I think it's about 15 minutes long, and then answer video question, that should say video question 2, video question 2 on Inquire. What social and economic conditions contributed to the emergence of the transnational surrogacy industry? How does this example relate to dependency theory? So how does the example of transnational surrogacy relate to dependency theory? All right, so I'm asking you to apply your sociological imagination here and also to consider the specific theory that we discussed in class last week, okay? So you can pause here, answer this question, it's video question 2, and then return to the module for the final slide. All right, that's it for this week. In class, we're going to have our usual setup. Our in-class group is going to meet on Wednesday. Our Zoom group is going to meet on Friday. We're going to discuss transnational surrogacy further as it relates to global inequality, and we also might have a lot of other things to talk about. We'll see where we are in the coming week. So please come prepared to discuss, and I look forward to seeing you in class or on Zoom.